Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another of my explorations. I'm starting my walk, and you'll see why, back at Hangleton Manor, which is behind me. Now, you may remember that I made a video recently on a special video, I suppose, in my Search of Sussex series, which is ongoing, and part 2 will be coming fairly soon. And then yesterday I made another video in which I started to take a walk along an ancient track, an Iron Age track that came from across the Downs, starting at Saddlecombe, over to Round Hill, down to Hangleton where I am, past the manor, which is back here, and then headed towards Portslade, which is up this way. And so this area in front of me and that road in front of me is in fact where the ancient track came down, and then it veered to the left hand side where this car is coming and subsequently going, and another car is heading along. And I thought it would be interesting to follow the ancient track up Hangleton Lane, that it is now called, and see where it goes. I mean, I know where it goes. It goes up to Portslade. So we will whiz up there on foot and see just how much has changed in the 100 years that Arthur Stanley Cooke may have gone up this route. He doesn't do this in the book, but he may well have wandered in this direction generally as part of his many wanderings over and in around Sussex. And of course the difference between now and 100 years ago is all of this was downland. So in a moment we're going to have to cross a new artery road that comes off the very busy A27 and heads down towards Portslade and Hove, takes you over into Brighton or down to the seafront. So this is that new arterial road, but actually before I cross it, I've just spotted behind me this path here. I'm just going to take a little stroll through here, because when you look on old maps, although the new tarmac road is a little to the right, or to the north would be a better way of explaining it, does seem to come along slightly to the south. And I'm wondering if this path, and this might be me putting my neck out, is just the remnant of the older path that would have taken you back down to the manor. It even gets you out of breath climbing up this hill. As you can see, we now have modern suburbia, the modern world, and yet all this was pretty much the downland that we see to my right, just beyond the fence there, and in the distance open countryside still. So take a little diversion up here. All these very modern, fairly nondescript, to be honest with you, dwellings, but not the worst place to live by any means. But this road, I imagine, quite busy, particularly at rush hour times, because it takes you down to that roundabout and the arterial road that goes up to the A27. Now, very shortly, this amazing view, of the rooftops and the hills behind. But very shortly we should come from Hangleton Lane onto Drove Road. Now, I know that's part of the ancient road, and of course the fact that it's called Drove Road gives you a clue, although the names of roads given by councils can always not be a true indication of their original purpose. Somebody in an office somewhere may think it's a great name. However, I think it was probably part of a drove road, part of this ancient track. Interestingly, we come to a road called Four Down. And I suppose this is the Four Down before you get down to Portslade on Sea. So we're sort of coming into Portslade now. Portslade on Sea was a different parish until I think the late 1800s, when it all became one. And I think it was down there on the seafront, close to Shoreham Harbour, was a maritime settlement. Now I'm wondering if we can see to my right. Yes, we just about see it. The Four Down Tower, which I've spoken about. It's just obscured at the moment, but there's a camera obscurer hidden inside. To my right was in front of me, what we're looking at now is the site of the Hangleton Hospital for Infectious Diseases. And I guess when it was put there, none of this was here. Of course, we're talking about in the Victorian period, possibly, well, I suppose early Victorian period, and all of this would have been downland, so it would have been completely isolated, which was the purpose of it. And this is where I went slightly wrong. Now I should have gone up here, which is a continuation of Hangleton Lane, but never mind. So I made a slight error. This, what looks like a tiny little back way, is actually where the route comes up. And I got slightly waylaid on the bigger, more modern road. But this is the old track here, which is still Hangleton Way, and continues up this way. If I'd carried on the other way, it would have taken me to Mile Oak, and I would have been miles out of where I wanted to be. So I'm effectively a little bit further south than that main road that took me up to the Four Down Tower. But it was interesting to go there because I wanted to see the location of the old Hangleton Hospital, which I think 100 years ago would have been there when Arthur was doing his walks. So he would have seen the whole hospital, although I think, and probably the tower as well, because I think the tower was erected around 1909, quite a modern thing. So at the time of publication, that tower would have gone up. So the old ancient track continues down this road. I'm in Drove Road. I managed to get here now, and I'm very pleased about that. I didn't want to go to Mile Oak, and we get some nice old houses here. The Work Road, as you can see, dips down. This is the old village, and it continues down there to a crossroads, which is the real heart of the village. But before I do that, just going to take a slight detour this way, because behind the wall here there is now a charitable place here that does, I've actually made a video about it before, and they do reclamation stuff and second-hand furniture and all of that. And there's I think it was an old school, but there's some beautiful old houses here that date back to the 16th century apparently. And if you come down this road, we see a lot more of old Portslade and bits of modern Portslade as well. Look at this rather beautiful house here. all on this steep hill. What an amazing community, look at that, isn't that beautiful? But it's this way I'm going to go, past this, I was going to say ivy covered wall, but it's not ivy, it does look like it's sycamore. Down this old walkway, which, if my memory serves, takes us to St. Nicholas Church. And yes, there it is. Beside it, and you can't really see, but through here, the site of the old manor house. Beautiful church with chancel nave and tower. So I suspect that people on that route, the ancient trackway, would have come over the downs, down to Hangleton, past St. Helens that we saw in the previous video, that church. Then as they came to Portslade, they would have come here and seen this church, no doubt. Depending on how ancient the trackway is, there could have been religious sites of significance well before these churches were built, which is an indication why the church was built anyway, and people would have visited them. Now look here, a little bit of a insight to the old 12th century manor house. Look at those windows. Just taken a trip back down this that's called the High Street for my last piece, just to show you these amazing cottages here, which must be the 16th century ones. And then we get into this loop that goes around to make the main heart of Portslade, with obviously some more modern buildings in it. Here's the Stag's Head, which looks like a pretty old pub. I think this whole area would be a subject all in itself, really. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. Support what I do and I'll bring you more. Become a patron, and it helps me put petrol in the car and that sort of thing. Gives me a thumbs up, and I'll leave you with a view of this rather beautiful house and a camper van. Till next time, bye bye.